in the first half. 22 really seemed like the catalyst, or 20-something.
You notice I didn't start him in the game, and the reason being is that I was trying to keep him out of foul trouble, and obviously it didn't work. And he was trying to change his perspective. He's been getting in foul trouble. He only plays I think he fouls out in 17 minutes against Baylor. He gets in foul trouble the other night against Tennessee. It's hard for us to catch a rhythm, and he's such a dynamic player offensively, especially on the open floor. So I didn't start him. He still gets in foul trouble. Obviously, when you're down as much as we were, you got to throw caution to the wind and put guys out there that you feel like can ignite you, and that's what we did to start the second half. And despite scoring 63 points, shooting 63 from the field in the second half, out rebounding them by I believe 9. I think we were down 8 at the half. All of those things are great, but really what won the game for us was getting defensive stops. We got stops, which allowed us to get in the open floor. TD, Cullen, Dre, making plays. It wasn't Cephas's best game, Mr. Double-Double doesn't get a double-double, but he kept a couple of balls alive, I thought, just by his presence. Other guys got him, made plays. So defensively is where it turned for us, and thankfully we were able to cut the margin quickly. It wasn't as if, it was a slow bleed. We had that thing down to 10 under the 12-minute media. Guys had some faith that we could get this done, and thankfully we did.
You've had some prolific scores. You've had some prolific scores, throughout your tenure at Ole Miss. TD, in terms of what he could be if he continues down this path, where do you think he could?
Yeah, if I can get him to dribble that thing unlike he dribble in a football, and I get his shot selection, curtailed a little bit. Open floor, he's as good as we've got. In the open floor, he's just got the ability to kind of contort his body and make plays. He's obviously explosively athletic going north and south. And so we try to get him there as much as possible. But in order to do that, you've got to defend, you've got a defensive rebound, you've got to get the ball out in transition, then you got to make good decisions. And I thought he was terrific for us in the second half.
At what point in the second half did you feel like you guys were going to come all the way back from 23?
Well, I didn't know until the bitter end. You're up 6 or 7, and we had obviously taken all the momentum, and yet they're continuing to make shots. Ronnie Johnson with a 4-point play, Mustafa Aram with a big 3. We could not get it stopped. We had a couple of loose balls. Luckily, we did a better job versus their pressure. If you remember game 1, which seems like a lifetime ago, third game of the season, I believe, we really struggled to putting the game away because we couldn't get open versus the pressure. We not only got open, but we got open with the right guys. Dre, who can do one thing pretty good, he can make free throws. And so we got our guy at the foul line, he made some foul shots, and then I thought Eustace was huge. Him coming off the bench cold, I bet he hadn't shot a basketball real time in probably 45 minutes. For him to come in and knock down those 2 free throws, huge.
I know it's cliche, but what did you say at halftime?
It's all overrated. Unless you're working on Cinemax, you couldn't have used it anyway. It's all cliche, man. For us, when you get this deep into it, we've played 25 games now. We know who we are. Sometimes we don't like who we are. Sometimes I don't like who we are. But we are what we are. Hey, let's play with some passion. And what's crazy is I thought we came out of the gate great. I think it was up 8-0 or 10-2 or whatever it was. Missed a couple of bunnies from some of our better players. We allowed that to snowball. Then we got fouls. And then we got really passive. They're back cutting us for dunks. We're looking around, staring, kind of got into a fog. It was lucky that halftime came when it did, because if they would have played another 5 minutes, they might have been up 25. Halftime came, we got a chance to shake the cobwebs off. Started the second half, I thought, defensively by getting some stops and making timely shots.
What was different for Cullen in the second half?
Confidence, man. When that ball goes in that basket, it's amazing. And I thought he made a couple early. The runner he made was, we've really been working on, how about that shot? Pistol Pete-ish, running left, throw the 18-foot runner in. I'm not sure I want to see that one again, but I'm glad it went in. Best name he's played. What's funny is it's well documented, he played for his father. Craig Neal at New Mexico transferred. And Cullen's 2 best games have been with his father in the building. Noodles is in the building, they're off tonight, so he flew in to see his son, and it's the best he's played in a Rebel uniform.
Andy, can you talk about, they scored 6 straight times in that last minute and a half, yet y'all kept going to the line, knocking it down. How's that?
Well, believe it or not, we've been pretty good. I think we're leading the SEC, and we're top 15 in the country in free throws made per game as it relates to percentage of our overall offense, if that makes sense. Sure. And we're shooting as a team, close to 75%. Eustace and KG were really dragging us down. Eustace is now in league play up over 80%, and and KG goes 0 for 0, so you can't hurt us if you don't shoot any.
Andy, they didn't let Sebastian catch it close to the rim early. Can you talk about their defense?
That's
against
what
them?
everybody's doing. They're doubling him, whether it be from the other big or whether it be a dig from ball side guard, and they're just trying to crowd the floor. And I think he did a pretty good job of finding the open guy. I can't remember the last time that he played 36 minutes and only had one turnover. And I thought the biggest play of the game, honestly, was when Ronnie Johnson, picked Dre for seemed like the third consecutive time, and the ball is loose on the floor. He had to knock it back. Cephas gets on the ground. They have possession arrow. He has the wherewithal to call a timeout to save possession. I think it ended up with free throws for us. I think my man wants to. I'm sorry, go.
I know you say, your team is what it is, but is this a second half that maybe you can build on and get some momentum?
We hope, but we've played pretty good the last four. Baylor is, I guess, weren't they a #1 seed if the tournament was today? Thankfully, it ended the tournament today because I'm sure the old Rebels would like where they're seated. But we played good. They made plays down the stretch. We didn't. They win. We come back and we beat our in-state rival handily. We go and win at Vandy. We go to Tennessee. We led for 33 minutes. And our inability to make plays down the stretch. So we've had certain segments of games where we've looked like a quality team. We've got to figure out a way to knit this thing together for 40 minutes.
In terms of the postseason, when you're talking to your team about the reality of it, what do you kind of say to them about where they are?
I just say, it's funny, Nick Williams was in town today. Nick has not been back in town. It's the first time he's in the pavilion. And Nick brought this up. Players remember, especially when the years that they were part of. He was a part of two teams here after his transfer, one of which was like 15 and 11 at the same point. Kind of fighting for their identity, closed the season strong, and if you remember, went and beat Auburn, ironically enough, and Tennessee in double overtime to get to Vandy in the semifinals. If you beat Vandy, you're in. We lose, we end up being the #1 seed in the NIT, and Illinois State came in and made 16 threes and beat us. But that team was one game away. So you got to keep playing the games. You just got to keep playing the games. We've got 6 left, I think. Yeah, 6 left. We got to win some games.
Last question, do you think it's about the SEC where 8 schools are between 6 and 5 and 5 and 7 right now?
It doesn't. To me, it seems like it's always kind of like that. And usually, Kentucky is so far out of reach. But this year, Florida's right there, South Carolina's right there, and then there's a lot of teams between 4 and 6 losses, as you said. I don't really look at who's playing whom. I'm just going to try to focus on us. And let's just try to win as many as we can going into Nashville and see what happens.
Thanks, Coach.